So I learned very early on, before I started the studio, that there are fabulous photographers that you and I would admire, and they can't make a living. And then there are mediocre photographers from a technical standpoint that are killing it. There's too much emphasis being placed on that beautiful surrounding, that area. There's too much emphasis on it. Let's remove all that and just have it be about the connection. Call me foolish, call me blind, naive. I don't think that AI is going to hurt my business, but I'm not threatened by AI creating an image of that mother and daughter that will evoke that emotion that I can, because I've had that one-on-one real conversation. I think when you're truly passionate towards something, you're going to do the best job possible. And you might do, like I said, that extra learning to make sure that you can do a better job.
Hi and welcome to Behind the Lens, a photographer's life. And today, quite nicely, we've got Jennifer, and she's joining us this week. Jennifer, can you tell everybody whereabouts in the world you are? Because it's a rather nice place and a lot of people would love to be there. So I'll let you explain where you are in the world.
Hi, Andrew. Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you very much for inviting me to be on this podcast with you. And I'm from the beautiful state of Hawaii in the United States, on Oahu, where Honolulu is. And yes, it is gorgeous. It's my idea of paradise.
Yes. And days like this, I wish we weren't doing it over the internet. It would have been nice to do it in person, but
In
there
person.
we go.
We have to sit outside. It's a beautiful day today.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. So tell us a little bit about your studio. Are you home based? Are you studio based? Whereabouts? What is it that you do, and what genre?
So I am a home-based studio and have been for almost 20 years. And I started off as a sole baby photographer, doing babies first year at 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 12 months. Did that, and then I worked into some toddlers up until the first 12 years. And then along came COVID and all that exciting parts. And so I branched out a little more into families and some themed photography. And right now we're doing a lot of mother and daughter sessions, which is a lot of fun.
Okay, right. So what's the fun part of doing that? Why do you enjoy that? What's changed? Mother and daughter, from babies to mother and daughters, that's totally different. So what do you enjoy about that that's a bit different?
It is and it isn't. I think for me, my primary goal with my photography is to always help moms celebrate those relationships that they love most. And so, yes, I love babies. I love first birthdays, and that's a lot of fun. And I'll just leave it at that. No buts about it. I love that. But with mothers and daughters, it gives me a wider range. So I'm photographing daughters that are young as 3 years old up to 33 years old so far.
So
So
it's
it gives me a
that
big
full
range.
genre is quite a big, yeah. So
It
you could get
is.
the teenage daughter with mum, the adult mum, and what we would say almost grandma sort of thing, right from first mum to baby. So yeah, that relationship, right. And what do you like about that connection? What do you see something in yourself? What is it? What's the connection that you like to see?
Oh, yes, I definitely see a connection with me. I have two daughters that they're at our adults, 31 and 36, and they're my everything at every single stage as they've grown up. And as adult women, we have a great time together. And so I feel like that relationships needs to be celebrated as much as when they're 1 year old. So
Yeah.
it's been a great joy. And it's reciprocal. So not only am I finding out that relationship from mom's point of view, also getting it from the daughter's point of view. And sometimes, no, I'll say a lot of the time, we're learning things that we can share with mom that she didn't know or that hasn't been said to her. And it's very touching moments.
Yeah, that's nice. It is. Yes, it's that connection, and when you can see that connection, that's rewarding, isn't it?
It is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you said to me there that you've been in your home studio for 20 years. How did you get into photography? What was the gateway to doing this for a living for the last 20 years for you?
So after the youngest one went off to elementary school, I decided it was time to get back into photography. I dabbled. I'd always had a camera, loved taking snapshots of everything. And so I went and bought a DSLR, or not a DSL, it was before digital was out, bought a film-based single lens camera. And then decided to take a photography class at the local community college and fell in love with the darkroom and discovered you could get a 4-year degree in photography. And so I hadn't finished up my college degree and therefore decided to go back to school and get a degree in art photography. And my husband said, "And what are you going to do with that?" And I said, "Well, in the worst case scenario, I can become a high school photography teacher." And his response was, "Because those aren't a dime a dozen." So I said, well, I'd also minor in math because that is a strong subject for me, and that I could be a math teacher if nothing else. So as I was working on my 4-year degree and then my master's in teaching, I was honing in on my skills in photography through the degree and with a lot of online photography classes. And right when it came time for me to do my student teaching in math, not a subject that I'm fond of anymore, the studio took off like wildfire and I never got it. And I never looked back.
That's good. That's good. You're the first person that actually I've had on that's actually gone to university and studied photography. Everybody else has come into it from a different way of finding it. I mean, everybody's studied it in their own way, but you're the first person that's actually come on here and actually done it the way I did it. If
Oh, you
you
did it
know,
that way too. Okay.
yes, yeah. So, yeah. Do you think it's given you any advantage over other people that that have done this by doing it that way? Did it give you more confidence, or do you think it matters?
Say that it doesn't matter. I don't think it did me any favors, except the one thing I will say, I had a fantastic um, professor with the dark room. And so I really got to understand what an excellent black and white portrait looks like with the tonal range and everything like that. That would be the one thing that through all the other online courses that I did that I wouldn't have gotten anywhere else. But no, I would say that I was very fortunate with the online photography courses offered in the early 2000s. I was doing them with mentors from around the world. And so I was getting to learn from the best of the best and took several like online or year-long courses where I was able to really build a rapport, a relationship, and get the feedback that I needed to grow as a photographer.
Cool, cool. So you said straight away you were going to maybe teach, but the studio just took off. Why did it take off so well? What happened there? Because a lot of people, that's everybody's dream for something just to suddenly explode and take off. So how did that happen?
Well, I was very fortunate. It started with me buying books at the bookstore, reading everything I could on photography and marketing because I knew that marketing was key to successful business. And I came across a book that had a photographer who was selling his marketing stuff. And so I bought his marketing information and really dove into that. Came across another photographer in that training that was selling a baby plan program.
Okay.
And this photographer was in Florida. He since has passed, and I owe a great deal of the success of my business from the ground up to him, because had I not come across his program, it would have taken me years probably to get where I got in the first
So,
month.
so the marketing was obviously quite in the forefront for you straight away to understand that you needed that. How did you come to realize that you really needed that? Because that's something a lot of people stumble across or realize through desperation, that they need to do a marketing strategy. What prompted you to do that straight away?
I've always had a business mind, and I knew that photography was not going to be as big of a part of the business that we as photographers would love it to be.
Yeah.
I figured that it was going to be, the photographing itself is going to be anywhere from 10 to 20%. Now I feel like it's definitely 10% and not even closer to 20%. But I've known that it was going to be a business first.
Yeah,
It needed
that's
to
really
be
good.
treated like that.
That's a good understanding right from go, because I think a lot of people miss that point, that it's uh, every business is a marketing business, and then you have the product at the end, whether it's the product of photography or the product of selling a cup or something, isn't it? It's that, yeah. So your island, I think it's must be around about the whole area is about 1.5 million people in total. So
It's about there, 1.5 to 2. I'm not sure where on a given day or a given month or
yeah.
year, but it's
So a
about.
lot of people would worry that that's not big enough, but realistically, it is, isn't it? Is it big enough, do you think? It must be. If you've been going 20 years, that catchment has been sufficient. Would it be better if you had a larger, or has it made a difference to you?
Well, I will say that out of that population, we do have a large presence of military here. So we have young families rotating in and out. So that does give me new blood, will, if you will,
Okay.
um, on a regular basis. So that does help.
Are they for a number of years? Is it monthly, six? What is the rotation? Do you know the pattern?
The rotation is generally about 3 years.
Okay, so you've got chance for them to come in and go. Yeah, once you've got them, do you get many people coming back then? If you've done babies and families, do a lot of people return?
Returned, maybe not within that year, and more of my local clients, they'll come back maybe in 2 or 3 years. I have one client who, in fact, her daughter just turned 15 yesterday,
All
and
right.
I've been photographing them since baby was inside of mama. And they have since moved away, but they come back every year, and so I photograph that family every single year. So the
That must be a
key
pleasure.
is to building that relationship, that when they do come back, I've had clients move away, come back for vacation, and decide that they need to do a family session and look me up. So it's
So,
important to stay in touch.
so what's the key to building that relationship that you've managed to keep somebody coming back for 15 years? What would you say is the main part of that to build that relationship?
Treat them like family.
Right.
Treat them like family. Let them know that they're family. So for me, the minute the client walks into my home, my studio, for the very first time, they're coming through my front door. They're seeing me and my family on my walls also,
Hmm.
but I'm treating them as their family from the get go.
Right. Okay. So, is there any downside to that? Because when Darren and Rianne talked about their relationship, they did that with their village that they lived in initially, and they were worried that it became too familiar, and that was a problem with pricing and things like that till they opened up to a broader clientele. They felt because everybody knew each other that they couldn't charge the right prices because they didn't feel comfortable in doing that. Have you had any issues like that?
No, I wouldn't say so. Yeah, it hasn't been an issue.
Why? What have you done to negate those issues? Straight so
Mindset. Andrew, I
right.
think it's a lot of mindset. I have done over 10 years of personal development on mindset, positivity, money issues, all of that stuff, a broad range of everything. And I've gotten to a point I'm very comfortable with what I charge. I know that I go above and beyond. I
Hmm.
have an assistant that's fantastic and I've trained her so well. Guess what? I got to fire myself because she does the job way better than I do. And now when she asks me to pick up the slack and help her out, it's like, oh, really? But yes. So I think more than anything, it's mindset on all of it. And yeah.
Right. So positive mindset. What do you need? What sort of thing do you believe you need to have that positive mindset? Can it be taught? Is it something that's just in there within your personality? Or what do you think? Is it something that could be learned? Or is it just something you've got naturally, do you think?
So for me, it's part of my personality, but I will say it's definitely learned. You can learn that. It might be more difficult for someone who tends to be too cautious or look at the glass half empty rather than the glass half full. But it's believing in yourself and moving forward. So,
So it's the mindset again that you're talking about.
yes,
So
exactly.
with your mindset, were you being a positive mindset? Were you competitive when you were when you were younger at school and things like, were you sporty competitive?
I, no, I'm not competitive. I love a good challenge, but I don't. Well, I maybe there's a little bit of
Yeah,
competitiveness. It's like,
yeah,
okay, let's
it's hidden in there.
a
And I
little
think,
bit, but it's not a primary goal. I always want to do my best, and I think I'm more competitive against myself than anybody else. It's not like, oh, I want to be better than Andrew. It's not that. It's I want to see if I can do this.
yeah, because and that goes down to success and what you believe success is for you. Because like success for me has always been achieving the best that I can possibly do, regardless of what anybody else is doing. Is that the way you look at it as well?
It is. And I think for me, more than anything, especially since I'm at the stage of life where I am, as long as I'm happy and having fun, that's all that really matters to me.
That's pretty much everything in life, though, isn't it?
It is. It is. But I'm at that stage. I am happy. I'm having fun. I get to do what I love to do. My husband's retired and I have no issue or no intention of retiring anytime soon.
Good. That's nice to hear. So because I was saying this last week, it fills me with dread thinking about retiring because I enjoy what I do. Um, and to actually turn around and go, that would be the last portrait session I've ever taken. That's a bit strange for me. Does that apply to you in any way, do you think?
I guess if I was no, I don't ever want to say that's the last portrait I've done. That just makes me sad inside.
Yeah.
Um, I love to grow. I love to learn. And so for me, it's like, okay, how can I improve it each time? And
So
going,
growing, if you'd love to grow, explain what that means to you, growing, because there's lots of different versions of growing. What does that mean to you?
um, in many aspects. So it can be personally or professionally, trying to be a better person, learning to be more empathetic, both in my personal life and my professional life. Yeah, just growing in so many different. I'm never happy in my bit. Well, no, I need to rephrase that. I never say good is good enough. I say for the photography, for example, okay, I've improved this area. I'll come back to it at some point in the future. Let's improve something else. Improve that, work on to something else, and then go back to the first thing and say, okay, now I've got time to work on this some more. So I'm never stagnant.
And I think that's one of the things as well that a lot of people, it might be lost on a lot of people. You can plan one particular thing, can't you? And you go, oh, I've got that nailed. But in 6 months' time, it can be totally different because it's changed, it's
Yep,
evolving.
yep.
What's what would you say has been the biggest change that you've had for yourself, say in the last 5 or 6 years? What's changed for you in the most positive way?
Well, I will say that I had some health issues that started 9 years ago. And
Okay.
going through that, even though I never got a diagnosis and I am 100% healed from it, um, it was a serious event in my life, very devastating. And I'm so grateful to have gone through and had that experience because it made me a more empathetic person.
So if you don't mind me asking, what changed, what happened for you to suddenly get through it? And was that again a mindset thing, getting through it?
Um, Not necessarily. It was a drug thing. I had chronic systemic pain from my neck down to my knees that just traveled to the point that I didn't sleep for 6 months. I was in so much pain. And I ended up on prednisone for 2 years.
Right.
And prednisone saved my life literally. And through that, I realized that people don't see pain. You see someone maybe limping along, you don't realize that they're actually experiencing pain or they're moving slowly or they're stiff. And so it just made me, I could relate to people more. And just when people would say that they were in pain or said they were going through something, I could get to a higher level than I'd ever been. And so I'm really grateful for that.
Okay. So in a way, it took the blinkers off, in a way, for you to see things differently. Was
Yes.
and the empathy side of things. How important is that then to you with your clients?
To me, it's huge. Just because that is my business, in that I want people, when they talk about Jennifer Okamoto fine portraiture, is that she cares. She treats us like family. That no, you're not coming to my house on Sunday night for dinner, but I want you to feel like you would be welcomed, you know? Um, that I just want that warmth and caring there, and I want it to be shown in every aspect of my life, whether it's personal or business.
Okay, so when you're talking to your client and you're trying to find out about them, what do you want to find out about them so you can make something for them? If you're going to create some portrait for them, what are you wanting to find from them?
I'm wanting to find out what's most important to them. And I am their guide in making them the hero. So by asking them questions that start off simple and we just go deeper and deeper and deeper until we get to that.
Right. So it's about the emotional connection all the time.
Yes.
Has that changed the way you photograph people when you've over the last few years? Has that changed the way that you actually do it and the way you light or look at what you do?
So I'm not so worried about lighting. I'm more about the relationship. And so this is a client that came in actually yesterday to see their photographs. And we'd had a lovely conversation. And it was a mother and a daughter. And the daughter, let's see, I want to say 19 years old, okay? Mom and daughter had been separated for about 10 years and had been reconnected. And we had a conversation with mom and learned how that happened and everything. And then had a conversation with the daughter and learned that now that the daughter is living with mom, that she's learning what mom likes to watch on TV. And so they'll be watching those shows together. And the daughter will be asking mom lots of questions, trying to catch up on everything. And the mother would give her a side-eye glance, and then the daughter would give her a glance and everything. So we learned about this story. So during the photo session last week, I said to the daughter, I want you to show me that side-eye glance that you give mom when she won't answer your questions during TV. And mom didn't even know that we knew this story. And so they started laughing, and then they shared those glances back and forth. Well, I ended up showing the client 5 of those images, and they purchased all 5 of them. Because now, would I have come up with that on my own? No. But it was because we'd taken the time and learned their stories and knew those triggers that we could invoke that emotion. And that was it. So and seeing that yesterday just ups it one more for me, making me want to do better by my clients.
So that's the key to being that relationship for
Yes.
you. That's the key. So where do you see it going further? Because the world's changing, things move on. We've got AI coming in and things like that. How do you see that? Do you see anything happening with that for you in the future? What do you see in the future in that? Because the relationship thing is there and is one of the key things at the moment. But can you see any hurdles, any obstacles going forward?
I don't know, call me foolish, call me blind, naive. I don't think that AI is going to hurt my business. In that, as long as I'm taking the time to be real personal and real personal with my clients, getting to know what's important to them, I don't think AI is going to do it. And I don't think the average client is even going to put that together until they actually have a real conversation with us. They're not thinking they're going to have that conversation with a photographer because that's not the norm. And so I feel I can use AI to help me with my writing or help me with any of those aspects that I need to market myself. But I'm not threatened by AI creating an image of that mother and daughter that will evoke that emotion that I can because I've had that one-on-one real conversation.
Yeah, because as a creator, realistically, as a portrait photographers, you're understanding that client in the right way to be able to photograph them and get
Mhm.
that true essence of them through
Yes.
understanding. And I suppose when you say yes, you want to become a friend with everybody, you can only really get the true essence of people when you do become friends with them and understand them. And
There's a book that I've read, and the author talks about uh, his he had a full day of work and came home and he was exhausted and he forgot that his wife was hosting this party. Um,
it sounds about like
he,
me.
okay. He's participating physically in this party, but he's just asked like one question and he's letting the guests just talk and talk and talk. And then he might do a few little words and they continue to talk. And the guest the next day said to the wife, "Oh my gosh, your husband is the most interesting man. I really enjoyed talking to him." But he wasn't doing any of the talking. He was doing all the listening and doing those simple prompts to get the guests to listen. And so I take that away and trying to learn. I'm a very talkative person a lot of the time, but learning to ask the question, zip the mouth, and listen.
Yeah,
So
it and that can make a huge difference in any conversation anywhere in the world, can't it?
it is,
If
yes.
you can listen and understand. So, with your business, where would you like to be if you don't want to retire? Where would you like to be, say, in 5 or 10 years' time? What is there any goals? Have you planned anything, thought about it, or are you just quite happy just to keep going along?
Well, I'm 62. So I said at 70, I will retire. It's not etched in stone. I can see that as long as I can get up and down off the floor and provide my client with the energy and doing the quality that I want to produce, then I'll continue doing it. Right now, I would say that I probably work full time with a part time mindset in that I jam all my appointments together, work like a crazy woman, then I take off for a week or two and vacation. So, as long as I can continue to do both, there's no intention of retiring and just to keep going. I would love to be able to continue to do what I'm doing for 8 years.
So, do you work 7 days a week, 5 days a week, 4 days, 3 days? What? How many days a week do you? Because, like most of us, you can't switch off because it's
Hmm.
not allowed. It's just
No.
not in the psyche. Do you have set periods of time that you do work?
I do not kind of. I do work 7 days a week, only because I choose to. It's who I am. Um, but if my husband says, "Let's go walking on the beach this afternoon," it's like, okay, I'm good. Um, I don't have children that live on the island. I don't have any grandchildren, so there's not that pull. Um, I will work till 10 or 11 o'clock at night and then go off to bed. Now, but I also give myself grace. I've been fighting a cold for the last 2, 3 weeks. And Sunday, I was just exhausted. I didn't have clients scheduled that day. And I went to sit on the couch in the morning to drink my coffee. And I got off of it at 8 o'clock that night just to go to bed. So I just was exhausted. And I rarely, rarely do that. But it's like I was giving myself grace because I do work
So you'll
every
book a so you would book a client in any day of the week. You wouldn't.
Generally speaking, I used to pre COVID. I only worked Monday through Friday because I had children living at home and my husband was still working. Now, the way I look at it, If I work on the weekends, it helps the clients out. And for my husband and I to go out to a restaurant or go do any of our activities, it's probably better to do it during the weekday and less crowded than it would be on the weekend. So I like to keep Mondays and Fridays client free so that I can go to the gym and do some stuff for myself. However, if a client can only come in on a Friday or a Monday, my assistant knows to book them on the
So
Friday or
who's
the
your
Monday.
assistant? Who's your assistant? What's their name?
So Iris is my assistant's name, and she's been working with me for 2 years. And I came across her as a client. She came in from a first birthday lead. And as I was talking to her, I thought, oh my gosh, if I ever needed to hire somebody for the phones, this is the voice and the energy and the tone and the empathy that I wanted coming through. I mean, to this day, out of all 20 years worth of phone calls, this is the person that has been number one for me.
So
And
so she primarily does telephone and admin and stuff. Does she do any photography?
so I'm going to back up a little bit. So, a couple months after her photo session, it just worked out that she needed a job and I was hiring. And I have to laugh because this was a spontaneous conversation, not meant for a job offer. And I got this voice going, hire her. She would be great. Offer her a job. No, take your time. Hire slow, fire fast. But she's the right one. Don't you dare, Jennifer. So this conversation is going on in my head while I'm having the conversation with her. And we to this day laugh about it because she now understands why there were pauses where there were in our conversation. But that conversation, I offered her a job, and that was originally to do some admin work. And it was not to do the phones, even though that's what caught my attention when I initially spoke with her. Within a month, or after a month, I said, you know what? I'm going on vacation for a month. In a month, how do you feel about learning the phones? And so she had a month. I trained her on the phones. And while I was on vacation in Greece for a few weeks, she booked 8 appointments for me, which is fantastic.
Right.
So
So she
now she's queen of the phones. And what I realized is that don't have that rapport with the client like she does because she's had those deep, meaningful connections. So
okay.
I had the idea. It's Iris. How about you start coming in for those photo sessions? She's coming in for those photo sessions. She's fantastic in the camera room. She knows before I even say it to her, get that hair out of the face, adjust this part of the dress, tuck the elbow. She's there. She knows it. She's caught on quickly, but she just knows it. And so she's a real asset in my camera room.
So it makes a difference, doesn't it, when you can work with somebody that actually gets it,
Yes.
and obviously she does. Um, would you see her carrying on? When you said retiring, could you see her taking over? Would it be
I
something
don't
like?
know that it's her thing. I She always talks about what a great boss she has, but I try to make sure that she doesn't feel like I'm her boss. I always talk about our clients and our business. I treat her as a partner all the way through and try to really take good care of her because I do appreciate her so much. And I let her know that time and time again. And when we have to have some serious discussions for whatever reason, I do the good, the bad, and the good, sandwich it in. But I'm really sincere in making sure that pointing out why this helps her to improve or to do something differently.
So she gets it, but she's maybe not got the true passion to be a photographer full time for herself, do you think?
I think that's the case. I've kind of wondered if down the road that would be something for her, but I just don't see it in her as a passion.
Right. Because that's one of the key things, isn't it? The passion. It's it's got to be, I think, would you say for anyone doing this, it's got to be a passion first?
I think so. I mean, she she's great on the phone. She's great in the camera room, and if she decided that's what she wanted to do, she could do it.
Yeah, because I mean, as a job, if everything's done correctly, you can make a lot of money and have a very, very good standard of living. A
Hmm.
lot better than probably a lot of people think if you do it correctly. But going back to that key that we started with, the mindset, if that passion's not there, do you think the mindset wouldn't be there to do it correctly?
As long as you're stumbling forward, you know. um,
Because when
I
the
guess.
times are bad, because times, for all the love in the world, it's never going to be perfect.
Right,
If
right.
you've been in 20 plus years, so it can't have always been good. Although you had an amazing start and you understood about marketing, has it always been good, or has there been struggles?
Oh, there've been struggles. Like I said, especially the first 2.5 years that I was sick. That was a huge struggle. I was in so much pain. I was at that point just trying to take care of my current clients.
Hmm.
There have been times that I've gotten burned out. Who's not going to get burned out working 80 hours a week, months on months at a time? There will be times that I have to change up the genre or lighting or backgrounds or something because I need to revitalize my energy.
Yeah,
The creativity, yes, the creative side was not being challenged. And so there have been times that I considered walking away. During COVID, I shut down the studio for an entire year and a half. Grateful that I had a home based business or home based studio that I could do that and not worry about overhead. And during COVID, I looked at leaving photography and going into a lot of digital painted portraits and dabbled in that. And as much as I enjoy doing that, I realized I missed the people contact.
so that
I
so
really
then
did.
that's where the the passion comes back in, that love
Yes,
of doing photography. And I suppose again that's a mindset thing as well. So and that's probably very key, isn't it? If you don't have that inside, deep inside, it's never going to really, really work, is it?
I think people can figure that out, that it's not genuine.
Yeah,
I mean, that it's really important to have that passion, that desire to do that.
yeah. It's like I suppose it's like when you go and when I was a student and you do jobs. When I was a student, you would do your 6 months and you go and work in different things and worked in, delivering letters or, you know, all sorts that people do as students and earning a bit of extra money. It's not your thing in your mind, so you don't really pay the same attention to it, do you? If you're not, because it's not your key love. And I think if that's not there, it's never going to work because you can go into any job and think I could go into this to make a lot of money, but if the true passion's not there, it's never going to work truly correctly. Do you think that would be right for everybody?
I think that's right. I think when you're truly passionate towards something, you're going to do the best job possible. And you might do, like I said, that extra learning to make sure that you can do a better job.
Yeah. How many people are gonna, if they're not passionate about it, are gonna put an 80-hour a week in
Exactly.
when
And I
it?
mean, like Iris is a perfect example. When I gave her the phone calls and was training her, her calls today are way better than they were 2 years ago. She now realizes the difference that she personally gets to make. She even a year ago, her mind was that she didn't matter, that yeah, she's doing these calls and getting these appointments booked, but she didn't wasn't making a difference. And I said, what are you talking about? You're the first impression.
Hmm.
If you bomb, I don't see them. You are everything to my business. And that if you aren't having these deep, meaningful conversations and making a difference in
So if
these
she's doing
people,
that well, do you think that's her? Do you think that conversation connection is her true passion then? Do you think?
right now it is, yes, because she shares with me how she's using those schools or skills even in her personal life.
Right. So she's found her niche in that, and so it's a section of the job, but it's not the whole thing, is it? So yeah, because there's
The
lots of.
same thing for me, Andrew, is that my passion is working with the clients. I would be happy to do the photo session and the sales appointments.
So you
And
like the physical, you like that physical connection.
I like the connection with the client, the actual conversations, getting to know them, making their day, week, year, whatever. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. It's that physical. It's an in-person connection rather than the phone side of things.
Get me on the phone. I'm great on the phone once I get on it. It's just getting me on the phone. It's like, uh, but
Yeah, yeah, because I think that's probably right for a lot of photographers, isn't it? Because we do crave that together connection because that's what you're
mhm,
photographing. That
yes,
that live person. Um, it's not the still life of a mountain or a beautiful seascape or whatever.
right.
Um, with portraiture, it's that communication physically.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So if you're gonna try and evolve and move forwards, what would you like to do for yourself to improve now? If you suddenly going, right, I want to evolve, I want to move forward, what can you see that you could do immediately to help and change what you're doing now?
I think for me, I just did that in that going to mothers and daughters. So prior to this year, primarily first birthdays and babies, some themed photography, but really centered around little children, which I absolutely love. And I had done a themed session inspired by the Barbie movie.
Okay.
And they were mothers and daughters. And my intention was um, to help women see them, well, to photograph them how they want to be seen based on the Barbie movie, okay? The inspiration being strong and confident and independent and things like that. Well, we had been doing social media ads and it got turned down to $1, but not totally turned off. Noticed at the beginning of the year, the first 15 or 55 days, I'd spent $55 and had 16 leads. It's like, something's going on here. Maybe I should not ignore it. But I knew that I didn't want to do it Barbie inspired anymore. I wanted to walk away from that. And so we redesigned it to be focused on mothers and daughters. And I took one of my clients and created an avatar around her and wanted to reach out to moms celebrating their relationship with their daughters.
So
And
I'm going
yeah,
to just stop you there. What do you
yes.
mean? Because a lot of people won't have any idea about what you mean by an avatar. Because an avatar to a lot of people is a film. and the
And
movie
a
that
good
James
one at
Cameron
that.
made. So what do you mean by that? Because you're obviously, that's a marketing thing. What do you mean by that?
Well, I told you marketing is so important in this business. So, an avatar for me is someone that is an ideal client. And so, I'm looking at the language and the relationship and what's important to them and marketing towards that person.
So who is your ideal client when it comes to mother and daughters? Because for me, when I used to do a lot of mother and daughter photography, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And it, for me, the age, I think it was always when the daughter was over 16, over, they weren't teenagers. They'd gone beyond the teenage years. Um, that was nice when you were getting that. I would say for me, maybe 18 to 25-year-old with mum. That was that was where you could see a lovely relationship. What That was me, and that was what I like to see. What do you like? What's the the sweet spot for you, should I say?
I've been giving some thought to that since I've been doing so many of these sessions lately, and there isn't one. Each different range brings different things to the table, and I'm loving all of them. I cannot say that I want the daughter to be 9 versus 16 versus 23 or 3. I
Okay.
love all of them. I just really, really love helping the mom celebrate that relationship and connection that she has with her daughter.
Yeah. So, do you do for mums and things? Do you do makeup and stuff like that? Because
No,
no.
no. A lot of clients will do their own. A couple will have a friend come in and do theirs or go out and have it done. But most people are just themselves. And that's what I really want is for them is to love themselves the way they are and be photographed as they are.
Cool, cool. So, with you being on such an amazing island and having a home studio, is it always in the studio, or do you venture outside and show these relationships in the environment, beautiful environment that you live in, or do you just purely stay in the studio?
Yeah, no, it's always in the studio. And I used to go on location 20 years ago when I was getting things started. And there's wind, there's rain, there's clouds covering the sun, and there's bright sun. I decided, oh, then there's parking issues. I just decided I was done with that. There are so many photographers on this island, and a lot of them will go on location. And if people want on location, it's like go find another photographer. I'm not the right photographer for you.
So,
Um,
what it's quite unusual that, because you're in such an amazing place for that to be such an asset. You've purposely decided to throw that out the window and say, I'm going to be studio based. I get
but
it, because that's the way I am.
think about it though. There's too much emphasis being placed on that beautiful surrounding, that area. There's too much emphasis on it. Let's remove all that
Yeah,
and just have it be about the connection,
yeah, yeah,
about the people. Forget all the others. I mean, I used 4 different backdrops: gray, black, white, and a mottled olive oil background, it's called.
yeah.
That's it.
Because you're not photographing the beautiful palm tree and the sea in the background. You're photographing that connection
I'm
and that.
just, and that's what I don't mess around with my lighting a whole lot because I don't want to focus on the technical stuff. I want to make sure I don't miss that little squeeze or that side eye
Now you're
glance.
saying that. Now you're saying that. You've done this for, yeah, how many years? Same as me, and you've studied it. You've understand. So when you say you're not bothered about the technical side, I would say that's not quite true. I would say that you probably just know instinctively what's happening with the technical. You've lived in that studio for so long that you can allow yourself to go beyond the technical to see the relationship. Is that not,
Let's
would I be
say that
correct in saying that?
I've got it set up so that it doesn't become an issue for me.
Yeah.
Now, there are times I'll say, Iris, remind me when they're down on the ground, pull the light down more. Sometimes I've got it 2 feet off the ground. I'd like it flush to the ground. But you know what? If it didn't get there, oh well, I'll make the adjustment in Photoshop.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not going to go, oh, wait, I know you guys are doing something fantastic, but my light's not in the right place. No, I'm photographing. I'm not
Yeah.
worried about it. But yes, you're right, Andrew, because of the years that we've spent learning and honing our craft, that I've got things set up that they work
Would you
with.
say that's one of the key things then that people starting out get totally wrong? They get what I would say gear freaks. They're more interested in what's the light meter reading and what's this and where the lights are and how many lights they've got. And I've got the latest lens and, and they're not actually concentrating on the person.
So I learned very early on, before I started the studio, that there are fabulous photographers that you and I would admire their work. Photographers that produce a fantastic portraits and photographs, and they can't make a living.
Yeah.
And then there are mediocre photographers from a technical standpoint that are killing it. And I always said that I would rather be a mediocre photographer killing it, because it meant that I was paying attention to my client and that I could relate to what was important to them. And so it was important for me to capture what meant a lot to them. And as long as I did it, the sales would happen. And if the catch light is in the wrong part of the eye, the client did not care.
Yeah. Because you're getting the thing that they want. And I think that is one of the key issues that we see with a lot of photographers going, they want to produce something they want. It's like me saying I'm taking photographs for me as the artist rather than taking it for the client. And yeah, so you're purposely all the time just concentrating on the client.
Yeah, don't get me wrong though. I'm always at the same time saying, oh, now the client is gone. Okay, if I did this with the light, or if I move the light over here, will I have a better rim light or something like that? I might be doing that after the client's gone, but I am not worried about anything technical when the client is in front of the camera.
So when you've got when you were doing like a new set, you said you wanted to change things up. It's like we all do. You want to do something different for yourself, just so you're not looking at the same background all the time. Do you practice with somebody different? Do you bring in your husband and practice, or do you get Iris to do something, or do you just say, oh well, no, I'll just try with the client, or
No,
would
I
you
just
never
kind
do
of
that?
wing it. I
Pardon?
wing it. Yeah, I just fly by the seat of my pants. It's like, oh, you know what? I got a new idea. You mind if I try this on you? They're my victims. And I
Right.
joke about it and everything. And, if it turns out, something will turn out when I'm doing it, so I can show them when they come in. It's like, remember I said I was going to try this? What do you
Well,
think?
actually, a lot of people like that, don't they?
Yes. Yes.
Because they go, oh, I'm feeling a bit even more special.
Special.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it can often be a winning little formula, that, because they do feel even more appreciated because you're going that extra step for them in a way to try
Yeah.
something different.
Yes. I
To,
like it.
yeah. So trying things differently and going differently on all sorts of things, what would you love to try different that you're not doing now?
I suppose from a technical standpoint, I would love to do a better job at some backlight. That's from a technical side. Yes, you and I know it produces a higher quality portrait from a photography standpoint. It doesn't make a difference to the clients, though.
So,
Um,
you'd still love to improve for you.
just because I would love to. I'm never 100% satisfied. So I would love to be able to produce a better quality print for the client in that respect.
Okay, okay, because it's in your mind. Then you're always still trying to find that perfection, which is really good.
Never satisfied 100%.
No,
Good is good enough for a little while, but not indefinitely.
how many of us believe that it ever is good enough? Because have you? Do you think you've ever taken the perfect photograph?
Yes.
Right. Okay. And can you remember what that is?
There was a newborn photo that I did years and years ago, probably 15 years ago. That is pretty spectacular. Pleased with all the lighting. It's a black and white. Very like the tonal range on it. It won a competition, so it's a little pattern. It's the one and only uh, competition I entered. I'm not into that kind of stuff. I did it with encouragement from my parents, but it's not about that for me at all. I don't care about awards and titles and things like that as a photographer. That's um, my value is placed on whether or not
But it's
um,
it's something that when you see, you go, yeah, I love that one.
I did. I mean, for me, because it was so long ago, it's like, well, that was a long time ago. Let's see what you can do now.
Yeah. So
Um,
we're trying.
Now there are poses but there's always, like I said, I think the big thing for me is that backlighting. That if I can get a beautiful hair light, I'd be thrilled. If I could consistently do that. But is it high on my list? No, quite honestly, because I've got a small camera room and all my lights are pretty much fixed, which I love, and they're off the ground, so don't have to worry about light stands and everything. So, in doing that fixed light, how am I going to be able to do that? And I just need to spend some time doing it. And I think by the end of the year, I will have improved on that a lot greatly.
Fabulous. Well, I hope you achieve exactly what you want. And I'd be very sad to hear that in years and years to come that you do decide to retire, because I think obviously you've got the passion and I think you love what you do. It's obvious in the way you talk about what you do. And I hope you keep enjoying it, making a difference for lots of people that come into your studio and get those relationships and grow that family of clientele even bigger and bigger. So thank you very much for joining me. It's been a pleasure chatting to you, Jennifer.
Well, thank you for this lovely time to share with you, and I've enjoyed the conversation too.
Cheers. If you've enjoyed today's episode, if you could just do me one favour, and that would be to like and subscribe, and I'll do my best to make sure Behind the Lens finds the best professional photographers from all over the world so we can enjoy their life stories. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.